By the end of February 1919, the Estonian army has recaptured most of Estonia, but this does not end the war. Fighting goes on until peace negotiations are opened, but there's no indication of that happening in February. Quite the contrary, in fact. The nascent Soviet-Russian state prepares to assault the town of Pskov and is assembling an Estonian Red Army. The commander-in-chief of the National Estonian Army, Johan Laidna, believes that both the people and the state will benefit from a war that is not fought on Estonian soil, but on foreign soil instead. For the next 13 months, the War of Independence is fought here. In the Russian northeast, the White Russian forces have been carrying the burden of the war since May 1919. This is the Northern Army that will come to be known as the Northwestern Army. Their main interest is to capture the Russian capital, Petrograd. The war has reached Ingria, and the White Russians mobilize locals to boost their ranks. The regiment led by Stanislav Bulak-Balachevich is pushing the front towards Gdov and Pskov. Northern Latvia is captured and controlled by an Estonian-Latvian joint force consisting of the Estonian Army and the North Latvian Brigade, which is made up of Latvians who had escaped to Estonia during World War I.
Iseseisvusmanifestis kuulutatud põhimõtted tegelikult leidsid ka peegeldust ülemjuhataja tegevuses. Vabadussõjas rahvust ei loetud justkui oluliseks, et kõik, kes olid Eesti sündinud, Eesti kodanikud olid kohustatud kaitsma nagu Eesti riiki.
At the beginning of 1919, the National Army sees an influx of Estonians. People are more and more eager to fight for their homeland. Commanders can now release the foreign volunteers, mainly due to economic reasons. In February, a day's fighting costs 1 million marks, but by summer, inflation has raised this to 5 million marks. Finnish volunteers are big cost drivers, in that they require payments in Finnish marks. Estonia receives 20 million marks from Finland as aid, and 16 million marks is paid as salary to the volunteers. The majority of Finns are sent home during the spring. Swedish volunteers who arrive in February, however, do more harm than good. The company is soon disbanded because the Swedes seem to spend less time at the front and more in bars in Tallinn, with a few exceptions, of course. On the other hand, a small Danish company fights honourably at the southern front until summer. Footage that they captured with their film camera is the only moving images of the War of Independence that still exists today. It is crucial for the Estonians to show to the world that a young state looks and acts like any other in Europe. Appearance is everything. But the local Baltic Germans are spreading a rumour that a Bolshevik state is on the rise, because Estonians are drafting a Land Reform Act, which threatens to confiscate all land from the estate owners. Only those who are willing to join the Estonians and fight the Red Army are allowed to keep the principal buildings at the core of their estates.
Balti pataljon moodustatakse tegelikult kodumaa ja vara kaitseks. Sisuliselt vähemalt novembris-detsembris me räägime a la nagu Eesti Kaitseliit. Ja päris Balti pataljonist või Baltic Regiment või Baltic Regimentist hakkame rääkima alles tegelikult 26. detsembrist. Läbi käib umbes täpselt 1270 meest, kellest siis umbes 920-970, numbrid natuke varieeruvad, olid baltisaksad, ülejäänud olid siis eestlased ja venelased.
Eesti riik võttis küll balti-sakslaste relvastatud abi vastu, kuid me näeme, et vabadussõjas Balti pataljon oli justkui pinnuks silmis.
The Baltic Regiment never grows to the size of its German namesake, the Baltic Regiment. The regiment joins the Northwestern Army during their advance towards Petrograd and is kept on the battlefront until the end of the war. After the war, the regiment is decorated, somewhat meagerly. Beside the Baltic Regiment, many Germans joined the medical corps of the Estonian army. The most noteworthy among these is the Professor of Medical Sciences at the Tartu University, Dr. Werner Maximilian Friedrich Zeuger von Manteuffel. He volunteers and serves as a surgeon in the first military hospital in Tallinn. He is 61 when the War of Independence begins, a highly noteworthy doctor who introduces sterilized rubber gloves and performs operations successfully that often fail even decades later. He is decorated with the Cross of Liberty. One of his more notable contributions is the training of combat medics. There is a constant lack of these. More than 600 combat medics serve in the War of Independence, and new ones are trained regularly, but unfortunately, many also die. In his memoirs, combat medic Walfrid Lehtmets describes his work during an artillery battle. Both men in the first foxhole were half under dirt and debris, backs against the exterior wall, alive but unconscious. One had lost both legs, the other only one. I mean, his legs were smashed into a mulch of flesh, bone and pieces of wood. I recalled what Professor Zeuger von Manteuffel had told us during our training, that you can operate without anesthesia right after the accident, when there is yet no sense of pain. So I did. "212 doctors and 42 doctors' assistants participate in the War of Independence, more than half of them having studied at the highly reputed University of Tartu. In hospitals, the rate of deaths due to wounds stands at 2%, which is comparable to the results that Germany, the world leader in medicine, achieves during World War I. If an injured soldier makes it to hospital, his chance of survival is high. But men die on the battlefield due to cold and illnesses or due to infectious diseases. And the further they get away from their homeland, the more susceptible they are to another trademark combatant's disease."
Süüfilis on jälle meil ilmselt kuidagi oma kasvatuse ja hariduse ja taustaga nagu kohe hakkavad mingi täirekellad lööma ja on selline väga, tundub väga tõsine teema olevat. Ilmselt ongi, välja arvatud see, et tänapäeval ta jällegi allub ravile, pärast antibiootikumide tulekut. Mina olen lugenud mingeid aruandeid, mis see Eesti Vabaduse sõda tervishoiuline osa, mis 1921 ilmus. Seal räägitakse pigem sellest, professor Baldrock kirjutab, et kuskil, tal oli kokku sõja jooksul, 5000 patsienti. Samas kaitseväes oli 100 000 meest vähemalt. Et see number nagu väga košmaarne ei ole, aga samas need olid need, kes nagu arsti juurde sattusid.
To prevent gonorrhea, each soldier is given a package containing a mixture of protagol and glycerin, a cotton swab and sublimate ointment. Men clean their member with the ointment both before and after intercourse, with a few drops of mixture dripped inside the member. When men return from leave, they have to confess if they had engaged in sexual intercourse. Those who admit to it undergo supervised prophylactic treatment. Those who lie and fall sick afterwards are prosecuted for their dishonesty. Regular checkups take place twice a month. Army doctors complain about not getting any rest. They have to patch up the wounded during the battles and treat the infected during the lulls. As men advance on the warpath, it gets more and more difficult to organise battle support in the rear. A women-led voluntary organisation called Ühistyö, or Joint Labour, does a lot to alleviate the situation.
Vabadussõja alguses selline haritud Eesti naisterahvas, kellel oli juba ka hariduse olemas, oli tegelikult tihtipeale õpetaja. Ega nad väga palju selle laiemale püünele ei pääsenudki. Aga sellest täiesti piisas, sellepärast, et need õpetajad olid just see kriitiline osa Eesti haritud naistest, kelle õlgadele pärast see ühistöö ikkagi toetus. Ja võiks öelda, et sellest ühistööst nad olid ju poliitiliselt aktiivsed, nad olid nii-öelda kõige juures sellel hetkel. Pärast peale vabadussõda olid need naised poliitikas, olid need naised koolide direktorid. Nad olid selles mõttes täieõiguslikud tegijad Eesti, ütleme siis avalikus elus.
The Latvian War of Independence takes a completely different course. Fighters from the dissolved German Empire are assembled into a home guard, the Landeswehr, and German volunteers established the Iron Division. The Latvian government hires both to fight in the War of Independence. Instead, they pursue their own dream, to reinstate the Baltic Germans in power. On March the 3rd, under the lead of the hero of the Finnish Civil War, General von der Goltz, the Landeswehr and Iron Division launch a successful attack on the Reds. Spurred by this success, they topple the nationalist government led by Karlis Ulmanis in Liepāja on April the 16th and replace it with a German-minded puppet government. Estonia is now between a rock and a hard place, the Red Army on one side, a growing German force on the other. To add to this, the Red Army initiates a new offensive on the southern front.
See juhatas sisse sõja nüüd siis juba 3. etapi, milleks olid kevadised lahingud Lõuna-Eestis. See oli kõige hirmsam surve, kui Punaarmee üritas siis likvideerida nüüd juba nagu tagalasse jäänud mingisugust ootamatut Eesti Vabariiki, kelle sõjavägi aina tugevneb. Jõudu Eesti piiridele aina suurendati, tõmmates teda ära jällegi mujalt, kaasa arvatud Kuramaalt, mis võimaldas valgetel jõududel ehk Landeswehril, kellest hiljem küll meie vaenlane sai, aga sel hetkel objektiivselt võttes liitlased, kergendas jällegi nende peale tulekut.
On the southern front, the Estonians launched their counterattack in the middle of March. On March the 20th, during the battle at Munamäe Hill, the enemy successfully severs the Estonian troops' communication lines. Peeter Ronk, a private in the cavalry, volunteers to carry messages. Ronk must dodge a hail of bullets, yet manages to pass through the Reds' territory twice during the night to mediate info between Estonian units. The battle at Munamäe Hill stops the Red Army from advancing towards Võru. Peeter Ronk is, in fact, one of 24 women who fight on the front during the War of Independence. Her real name is Anna Vares and becomes Anna Kukk when she marries. She later has 5 children, gets deported to Siberia, returns to her homeland and dies only a few years before Estonia regains its independence in 1991. She is already granted the Cross of Liberty for her bravery during her lifetime. As the units move further apart, communication with headquarters becomes increasingly crucial, yet it transpires that the state and movement of some troops is unknown for days. On occasions, the success of the War of Independence turns on a piece of wire.
Et ka järgneva 100 aasta jooksul tänapäevani sõjaväed, kui neil on võimalik valida, kas kasutada raadiosidet või kaabelsidet, valivad tavaliselt kaabli. Sellepärast, et seda, mis liigub kaablis, on märksa keerulisem vaenlastel vahelt võtta. Raadiosidet tuleb alati krüpteerida, see võtab aega, on keerulisem ja nii, et kaabel oli toona tõesti ka vabadussõjas üks peamiseid sõjaväe operatiivjuhtimise vahendeid.
Ja positsioon 2 kuuldel.
Vabadussõjas siis liikus ülemjuhataja staabi ja diviiside staapide vahel info mööda kaableid. Telegraafid siis olid kasutusel juus telegraafimasinad, mis olid siis varustatud sellise kirjutusmasina klaviatuuriga. Ühelt poolt toksiti tekst sisse ja teiselt poolt tuli siis lindi peale ta juba ka tähtedega tekstina. Allapoole diviisidest siis kuni väeosadeni, polkudeni kasutati samuti telegraafi, aga juba morseaparaate. Seal on siis morsevõti, mida ma olen paljud filmidest näinud, piip, 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 piip. Ja nendest staapidest allapoole siis peamiselt virgats side.
Liaison requires language and procedure. The report must reach the top, and the order must get to the bottom. In March, Estonian forces battle for days near the town of Võru. Johan Laidner, the commander-in-chief, hangs on the reports from the front line. The document shows how Jan Soort, Laidner's aide, is commanded to remind a Captain Mutt that headquarters expects reports about the enemy's movements twice a day. Alas, this scenario repeats itself over and over again. Sometimes it's the fault of the men, sometimes the conditions.
Kuna Eestis vabadussõda oli selline sõda, mis tekkis nullist, kus mingi keskset planeerimine ju kõik tekkis nullist nii-öelda, siis on väga raske kujutada, et olid mingid sõjaplaanid või kavad üleüldse, et kindlasti seda improviseerimist oli kujutlematult isegi rohkem.
The Estonian army is now operating on territories that have been part of Estonia for less than a year. During the German occupation in 1918, for the first time in history, Settlemaa is stitched onto Estonia. This territory is also split between two states today. From February 1919 onwards, until the end of the war, the heaviest fighting takes place here. Settlemaa is trampled over by the Reds and the Whites alike, by the Estonians and, to put it simply, by marauders.
Petserimaal on ka nii, et neid eri kante põlisrahvaste meelsus oli erinev. Kohal nagu rauti, kohal tüülisi rautiilasi, seal nad tükki olema vereve. Rohelisi oli Vinne ja ka Läti ja võib-olla Seto külamehe, kes lihtsalt oma küla piire lasi kõiki, kes tahtsid regiviiri. Kõik oli väga kirriv.
The diverse political situation changes after the April elections. Leftist parties take 80 seats in the parliament, turning the government a shade of pink. The elections clearly state the expectations: land for the people and peace.
Kui oleks juhtunud, et see asutav kogu oleks parempoolsem, sest see on juba puhas spekulatsioon, tegelikult see ei ole ka võimalik. Ütleme, selles kontekstis ma ei ole päris kindel, kas 20. aasta veebruaris oleks Tartu rahuleping sõlmitud, sest teatud mõttes oli see ka ikkagi ütleme, sotsialistlike parteide, vasakpoolsete parteide selline programmi osa, et võimalikult kiiresti sõda lõpetada.
The Estonian army is still fighting on Latvian territory. On April 27th, the 3rd Regiment launches a counterattack towards the Reds in Strenchi. The Estonians are assisted by armoured trains and an armoured car called Kalevipoeg, literally Kalev's son, a mythical hero in Estonian mythology. Captain Anton Irv is too impatient to stand by and simply observe the battle, even though his position requires him to lay low. 1 kilometre from Egle, a Red squad is spotted. The Kalevipoeg attacks with machine gun and cannon fire. Irv fires his rifle. The enemy retreats and the Estonians move forwards. Irv walks in front of the car. He has never been hit by a bullet and has gotten used to it. No danger is ever as big as the fear of it, he wrote about a decade earlier to his brother. This is his credo, but after a dozen steps, he is fatally hit in the chest. He is the highest ranking official to fall in the War of Independence. On May the 13th, Estonian forces begin an offensive towards Pskov. The town falls quickly on May the 25th, since the leader of the Estonian Red Riflemen and some other Red commanders have switched sides. One of the biggest victories on the front against the Soviet Russians. Pskov is handed over to Bulak Balachovich's forces to focus on the situation in Latvia. In May, the 2nd and 3rd Estonian divisions, together with brigades from northern Latvia, conquer northern Latvia, town by town. The cavalry has moved to Jekabpils, which lies 200 kilometers from the Estonian border, with remarkable speed. Estonian High Command has established a control line between German troops and the Estonian army.
Me seisame ametliku Niedra valitsuse või faktiliselt Landesveri kontrollitava ala ja eestlaste kontrollitava ala piiril. Sellel piiril on Amata jõe sild. Landesver hakkas tegema ettevalmistusi Võnnu ründamiseks. 3. juunil määras Johan Laidoner selle joone, kust maalt ei tohiks enam Landesver põhja poole liikuda. Ja kui 3. diviisi ülemkindral Põder küsis, et kas on siis luba neid Landesveri võitlejaid, kes tulevad üle selle joone, lugeda vaenlasteks, siis Laidoner vastas, et mitte ei ole luba lugeda neid vaenlasteks, vaid on käsk lugeda neid vaenlasteks.
Punaarmeega sõdis Eesti mees sellepärast, et oli tarvis sõdida, oli vaja see pealetung tagasi lüüa. Siis Landesveriga mindi sõdima sellepärast, et taheti sõdida.
See elaan, see julgus, see tahe minna sakslastega sõdima, see oli täiesti fenomenaalne. Ja kedagi eriti ei huvitanud, et tegelik surmaoht hetkel, mis Eesti kohal ripub, on ikkagi punane Venemaa, mitte Landesver, kes hetkel tegelikult üldse Eesti vallutamist ei plaaninud, vaid tahtis endale kuulekat Lätit.
The war with the Landeswehr starts on June the 19th, when the Estonian army refuses to comply with the ultimatum to pull back from Latvian-speaking territories and retreat to ethnic delineations. For many, the ethnic border lies here, however. These are the Latvians who are fighting alongside the Estonians.
Landesveri sõjast on teada seiku, kus esimese diviisi alluvus olevad mehed teevad väejooksu ja lähevad, liituvad väeüksustega, mis tegutsevad Landesveri vastu. Et meil on teada sellised seiku ja päris mitmeid ja haiglatest põgenemisi. Ja tegelikult ka see Landesveri sõda ise, kus mõlemad pooled ei tunnista sõjavange. Ka see tegelikult määris nii-öelda siis eestlaste ja baltisaksa vahelised suhted.
Nowadays, the outcome of several battles fought in northern Latvia is collectively described as the victory at Vernal, Tsesis in Latvian. The Estonian-Latvian joint army, where the ratio of men was 1 Latvian to every 7 Estonians, is driven forward as Midsummer's Eve, a time for big rural festivities, approaches. The Estonian army prevails in the battles at Veselava, Skangel and Limbaži, and is now drawing nearer to Vernal. Vernal becomes the Baltic Germans' Battle of Poltava. At 11:17 p.m. on June the 22nd, Laidoner gives his historic command. The head of the serpent must be cut off, and, to that end, the enemy must be demolished and the town of Vernal must be captured. In the early hours of June the 23rd, armoured trains converge on Vernal and capture it at 7:30 a.m. But in reality, the Battle of Vernal never happens. The Germans are already retreating towards the Latvian capital, Riga. Estonian forces pursue them without even waiting for supplies. On the line at Jõgla Lakes, just outside Riga, after fierce fighting, the startled allies force the Estonians to stop. The Estonian troops are at the gates of Riga, waiting for the signal to march victoriously into the town, and the navy has reached the mouth of the Daugava River, ready to capture the city. The terrifying Landeswehr and the Iron Division have been destroyed or, in some cases, captured. But the Allies demand that the Estonian command concludes peace with the Germans. Karlis Ulmanis arrives in Riga and greets the people with a parade. Meanwhile, the Estonians are still waiting at the Jõgla Lakes. They are not invited to take part in the victory march. Leaders feared that it might damage the future relations between the two countries if Estonians potentially start looting in the town. But the effect of being overlooked is greater. Victorious, yet barefoot, the soldiers retreat behind the controlled line. And without any feeling of honour, they began to act as strangers can do in a foreign country. In October, when the Estonians are once again invited to help out at Riga to fight the invading German troops and White Russian forces led by Bermont Avalov, the Estonians rebuke the Latvians for their erstwhile ingratitude. In return, the Latvians demand that the Estonians compensate for the damage they caused in the territories under their control. Agreement is not reached. As a result, Estonia's assistance is short-lived, and Latvia's own forces handle the rest of the fight. It proves easier to push the Estonian soldier back to his borders when he's fighting in a foreign land. At the end of August, when the Estonian army faces the threat of getting surrounded near Pskov, it takes up fortified positions. a new phase in the war begins, the Trench War. Starting from August, the commander of the Vernal front, General Alexander Tönnissen, focuses on fortifying the front and orders the building of several trench lines and shelters in case white forces attacking Petrograd do not pull through and begin to retreat to Estonia. In the autumn of 1919, the White Russians are making desperate attempts to gain power in Russia, but the 2 years of civil war have completely turned the tables. Retreating White Russian forces start to pour into Estonia, bringing with them a disease that does not pick sides. It just kills. A typhoid epidemic breaks out. Vernal Front commander Alexander Tönnissen describes how he visited the Northwestern Army headquarters in Narva, which was facilitated in a beautiful mansion house, yet where human feces was dripping down the stairs and the filth was ankle deep. Typhoid causes diarrhea and vomiting, high fever and apathy. The only way to stop it is to maintain proper hygiene, a habit that was not so prevalent 100 years ago. In November, and despite the Allies' opposition, the Estonians decide to disarm all the members of the Northwestern Army who enter Estonian territory. This is one of the terms of the peace negotiations with Russia, which are already secretly in progress. Some retreating troops are shepherded into forested and swampy areas. There are no shelters, yet the weather is cold. According to different sources, approximately 30,000 to 70,000 war refugees and White Russian fighters are relocated to Vernal County. To stop disease from spreading, closed zones are created, where visitors need special permits to pass through. By the beginning of 1920, 10,000 people in Estonia are suffering from typhoid. 5,361 Estonians get sick. The official peace negotiations began on December 5, 1919, and the leader of the Estonian delegation is, quite expectedly, Jaan Poska. The negotiations are interrupted several times. The enemy wants to settle on a border that leaves Setumaa and the oil shale-rich areas in eastern Estonia to Soviet Russia, whilst General Jaan Soorts, the representative of the Estonian army, demands that Estonia is granted territories that make it easier to keep the enemy in check. On December the 16th, the negotiations are halted as Leonid Krasin, the leader of the Russian delegation, leaves. Talks are resumed with his substitute, Adolf Joffe. In private, Poska and Joffe sample French cognac. Progress is made. The armistice is declared on January the 3rd, and the actual Tartu Peace Treaty is signed on February the 2nd, 1920. This is the birth certificate of Estonia.
Jaan Poska kõne Asutavas Kogus 10. veebruaril 1920. Ta ütleb, maitskem küll rahu, aga hoidkem alal ja kasvatagem oma sõjalist jõudu. Vabadussõja lugu on aktuaalne ka nüüd. Poska sureb varsti pärast Tartu rahu sõlmimist, kui ta maetakse, helisevad kõik Tallinna kirikute kellad 2 tundi.